I don't know, is this news? School principals say culture wars made last year, quote, rough as hell. That's how one high school principal in Nevada described the 2021 to 22 school year, when conflicts with parents and community members were all too common. Quote, something needs to change or else we will all quit, says another principal in California. Those voices are part of a new nationally representative survey of 682 public high school principals, many of whom describe a level of tension and division within their broader school communities that is not only high, but, in the words of one Utah principal, making the job harder than, quote, than any other era in my 20 years of administrative experience. John Rogers, a professor of education at UCLA, helped lead the survey efforts and says while an earlier 2018 survey of principals revealed conflict spilling into schools, what's different in 2022 is that a lot of the political conflict is being targeted at public schools, especially in narrowly divided purple districts. Now, again, there being political issues in the community is one thing. But again, these political issues being like right-wingers like storming school libraries and like threatening children, showing up to events where kids are at with like, phones, going like, are there groomers here? Where are the groomers? Go, calling cops on like again, these motherfuckers are crazy and it's only the right wing. Like, I need you to understand the culture war is a misnomer. There is no culture war, okay? It's the right wing and conservatives harassing the fuck out of everybody else who just wants to live their lives. That's it. It's not a war. War implies both sides. There's only one side. Everyone else wants to live their lives in peace. Right wingers, being freaks, want to destroy everyone else's happiness. That's it. More than 2/3, 69%, of principals surveyed report, quote, substantial political conflict with parents or members of the community last year over several controversial topics, such as teaching about issues of race and racism, policies and practices related to LGBTQ plus student rights, social emotional learning, and student access to books in the school library. What is social emotional learning, by the way? That's essentially not abusing the fuck out of children. So the standard and the norm in society is abusing the fuck out of children every step of the way. That's just how society treats kids. Wearing them down, grinding them down, abusing them, treating them like garbage. That's how society treats kids normally. Now, a lot of schools have tried to specifically learn about the damages that has, childhood trauma and abuse in the school system and in parental systems. And they tried to adapt to a better way, to take all of those criticisms into account, create a better way of interacting with students that focuses on socialization so that they can better be better members of their communities in the future. And, again, so that's social emotional learning, is helping kids learn in groups, be tolerant of one another, to be less aggressive, less bullying. Right-wingers don't like that. Now, again, I need you to understand this, and I know a lot of people might get triggered by this, but it's an objective fact. This is reality. Conservatives, by very nature of being conservative, if they have kids, they abuse their children. Why is that? Why do I say that? Because if you teach your child to be a conservative, that's abuse. That's abuse. You are brainwashing them and permanently debilitating them for the rest of their lives in actually participating in the real world. If you teach a child to hate black people, and then they're 20 years old and they leave shitfuck bumfuck Arkansas, and they get a job, and they have a black coworker, and they engage in racist behavior. Now, again, they should know better. They should know better. But again, their parents brainwash them and force them to have to deal with you can call it a mental illness, that takes a lot of time to unlearn. Why do you think we're dealing with these crazy fucking psychopathic right fucking wingers all day, every day? Right? It's generational. They teach kids very early to be fucked up motherfuckers just like them. And now again, look at the Club Q shooting. Look at the shooter's father. The shooter's father, when finding out that their kid was at a gay bar, to commit a mass murder, their initial reaction was, oh God, thank God they're not gay. Because I'm a Republican. I taught my kid to be violent. He was proud of this. He was proud that he taught his child, a mass shooter, to be violent and to hate gay people. So then that kid went out there, 22 years old, was violent against gay people. Right? That is an extreme example. But again, you teach children to hate other people, they're going to hate other people, and it's going to ruin their lives. Because ultimately, right, what's going to happen is these children are going to grow up and they're going to hate whatever minority group that you taught them to. And then they're going to be face to face with these minorities in the real world, and it's going to cause problems, right? They might get fired for workplace harassment. They might get sent to jail for beating the shit out of a gay person, right? It ruins everybody's lives. It ruins minorities' lives for having to put up with this constant fucking harassment from every fucking body. Constant fucking harassment. But it ruins the people's lives that are the harassers, because then they're going to have to live their entire life being a hateful fucking moron. They're more likely to end up in jail. It's not good for anybody when you can just teach kids to be normal and to be tolerant, and then everyone is better off. Schools in purple districts saw more political conflict. Nearly half, 45%, of principals surveyed say the level of parent-community conflict they saw last year was either more or much more than anything they've seen before the pandemic. Just 3% say they feel less conflict than last year. Principals cite many stressors, including a kind of ambient anxiety created by the pandemic that was then exacerbated by the spread of misinformation on social media, the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, the divisive tenure of former President Trump, and most importantly, the role of national, largely conservative organizations in galvanizing parents and turning schools into a culture war battleground. In fact, the more politically divided a community is, the more likely principals are to say their schools have been riven by conflict. I like that word. Researchers found that schools in purple congressional districts where Trump won 45 to 54% of the vote in 2020 were more likely to experience acute levels of political conflict than schools in blue districts where the vote for Trump dipped below 45, or in red districts where Trump's support exceeded 55. And those political conflicts can also play out between students. Now again, think about this. Why is that? Do you want to know why? Whatever answer they're going to come up with, I don't know if they're even going to try to figure that answer out, but I'm going to give you the real answer as to why that is the case. Why is it that most of the conflicts are in purple areas? Because that's where the money is. It's that simple. That's where the money is. All of these so-called concerned parent action groups are astroturfed and financed by right-wing donors, mega donors, PACs, etc. What they do is they go into these purple districts, flood them with money, give them to these groups that then reach out and find parents to do the dirty work, right? Give them a lot of money, tell them where to go, what to say, how to say it. It's all astroturfed. Now, again, you see a lot of it naturally because we have a lot of stupid motherfuckers in this country. But the reason why it's mostly targeting purple districts is because of the money. They literally go to these districts, collect lists, email lists, phone number lists, whatever, of parents that are willing to do the work for them, and then coach them, and then send them off in the real world to do their crazy fucking bidding. There's no coincidence as to why. This is mostly occurring in purple districts. You would think this would be, again, if what these right-wingers, like if they were truly believing what they said, you would think it would be more likely that this would occur in blue districts. You would think in states where it's like 70%, 80% Democratic voting, you would think the minority of Trumpers and conservatives would be even more ready to fight for what they believe in. But they don't. Why? Because these big Republican donor networks know it's a waste of fucking time and money. So, there's that answer for you. Almost 7 of 10, 69%, once again with the 69s here, of principals report, quote, students have made demeaning or hateful remarks toward classmates for expressing either liberal or conservative views. Quote, I had to come down and help the teacher like a veteran teacher who's never had problems having discussions, remembers one Iowa principal, and the kids were just so stuck in their trenches, they weren't willing to be open to even listen to the other side. Now again, this principal sounds like a fucking moron, but they're in Iowa, so there's a good chance that they are. There is no other side. I need you to understand this. Now again, I don't necessarily support bullying conservatives as a whole, like as a 100% time, bullying a conservative kid, it might feel good in like that revenge fantasy of like, I'm going to bully the bully. But really what you need to do is bully the parents. Right? These kids are a reflection of their families. Kids don't really have beliefs, really. I mean, maybe in high schools, right? Like, they start to develop beliefs, but even then, most of the time, what kids believe is a reflection of their environment that they're growing up in. But again, there is no both sides. There's one side, right? Normal people who just want to live their lives and who want their friends to live their lives in peace and harmony. And then the freaks. Those are conservatives. The freaks. Right? It's just that simple. This isn't a both sides. This isn't a culture war. It's normal people and freaks. Right? Like the way, like what are these arguments about? About critical race theory, right? About LGBTQ plus rights. What are they arguing about? And what are both sides? What could both sides possibly be? I know what one side is. They want other minority groups that have less rights. I'm allowed to go to the doctor, but you can't. I'm allowed to go get this job, but you can't. That's one side. The other side is like, that's a little weird. We're all human, bro. That's the other side, right? To say that these are equal, to say that it's a war is ridiculous. There's a bunch of social reject freaks that want to project their hate and garbage on the rest of normal fucking society. Misinformation is making it hard to teach a lot of things, including media literacy. This is a big one, folks. How do we get to the point where people believe in stuff like critical race theory? I'm going to play a video here. I know I've gotten a lot of use out of this video. I'm going to play this video. I've gotten a lot of use out of this one, and it's evergreen, right? So this is a clip. This is, I believe it was 2019, the Virginia governor's race of the folks from The Good Liars. They do like funny comedy skits and interview stupid people, asking this old man what he thought about critical race theory in elementary schools. Now again, fact, what is the real world? There is no critical race theory in elementary schools. It doesn't exist. It's not real, okay? But this guy is convinced. Let's watch.
What's the most important issue in the governor's race here in Virginia?
Getting back to the basics of teaching children, not teaching them critical race theory.
And what is critical race theory?
Well, I'm not going to get into the specifics of it because I don't understand it that much, but it's something that what little bit that I know I don't care for.
And what have you heard that you don't?
Well,
that you don't like?
I'm not going to. I don't have that much knowledge on it, but okay. It's something that I don't care for.
What's the most
it never gets old. It never gets old. But I need you to understand, they believe it. They believe it. It's not real. They believe it. And why is that? Because of this. Media literacy. These people actually think, oh, I heard it on TV, therefore it's true. They actually believe that. They actually, I know. To anyone who has any form of media literacy, I know it sounds ridiculous. They watch TV or they scroll through Facebook. They see something. They believe it without question. Scroll past it. Do no research. They read headlines. Right? They don't do any research. They don't look at it. They don't fact check it. That comes down to media literacy. I can say that, you see, this is my camera, but behind the camera, there's a parade of juggling clowns. You can't hear them, and you can't see them because the camera's pointing this way, but I swear to y'all, there's some juggling clowns over there, and it's impressive because they're doing all kinds of tricks, but they're not making any noise. It's actually really interesting to watch. Now, again, a conservative would hear that and go, oh shit, there's clowns. Oh, that's great. And a lot of this stems, I know people will get triggered, a lot of this stems from religion. What is the oldest form of media illiteracy? Religion. People get told that God exists and that he's watching them, and they believe it. How? How? They just do. And if you're able to be duped into believing that God is a thing, or that Jesus is a thing, it's not much of a stretch to then believe that critical race theory exists in elementary schools, or that lefties are grooming kids and chopping them up in secret hospitals and neo-Nazi experiments. Motherfuckers out there believing in Muhammad. Motherfuckers out there believing in fucking Moses. It's not that much of a... Like, they actually believe that, like, this motherfucker was like, woo! And then the waves go like, and then he's walking down on the fucking bottom of the ocean or whatever. It's not much of a stretch to believe that they're teaching critical race theory to children. Come on, think about this. Think about this. I know a lot of people get triggered. Why do you bring religion up all the time? Have you seen the fucking world? Motherfuckers believe Jesus was turning water into wine. Why wouldn't they think that gay people are grooming kids and chopping them up and selling their body parts? By the way, the same group of people that believes that lefties are groomers and chopping up children are also in favor of circumcision. So, God tells you it's okay to cut your kid's dick off so they can't experience sex the way that God theoretically would have intended, right? For the rest of their lives. You're permanently disfiguring them so that they can't experience sex. But if a 16-year-old wants to get an elective procedure, all of a sudden it's hell on earth. So a baby can't consent. Impossible to consent. That's fine. Cut their dick off. It's all good. God told me to. It's part of God's plan, bro. When they're 16 and they can consent, oh, you're so young, you can't consent? In many places, according to the survey, misinformation sparked fires of conflict. Quote, we had a group of parents that went bananas on us on the masking and believed that we were encouraging kids to get a shot that surely had a microchip in it because the government wanted to control their brains. Remembers one Nevada principal? The same principal who says he is a registered Republican in a predominantly conservative district worries that parents' belief in misinformation has had a chilling effect on schools' ability to talk about current events and even recent history. Now, again, this is a fucking moron if they're a Republican, right? Part of the problem, you created this scenario. It's all your fault, essentially. I don't know about all, but it is, anyone who engages in Republicanism is part of the problem. Quote, you can't use newspapers anymore. You can't use CNN because the parents will go nuts on you. You can't use Fox because it's so out there. It's hard to teach kids about what's going on in any kind of context because there is no context. Nearly 2/3, 64% of principals report that parents or community members pushed back against information used in classrooms. And this tug of war over facts, quote, grew almost threefold in purple communities between 2018 and 2020. Again, that's all because of money. Quote, the only way I think we're going to get out of a situation like this is teaching kids, and maybe even the greater public at large, what is good information. How do you do that? Re-education? We need it. Okay, you can read the rest of this, but I'm going to, harassment of LGBTQ plus students is rising. Principals believe the majority of parents don't support these conflicts, right? Schools in purple districts were more likely to put limits on teaching about race and racism. So, again, you can read the rest of this. You can imagine that in your brain what's going on. But the only way out of this, and again, this will never happen. I need you to understand, there is no will for this. Mandatory re-education. That's it. That's it. That's the only way out of this. And now again, am I going to say that that's a silver bullet? And that it's going to work guaranteed? No. No. I'm not even sure that that would work. Okay? Just to be completely honest with you, I'm not convinced mandatory re-education would work. But I'm saying that is the best option we have. An entire generation of parents who don't know anything and who are reactionary bigots raising kids has serious fucking consequences. It has serious fucking consequences. When you have parents that teach their children the lack of teaching them ignorance, teaching them to be immune to new information. And how do you fix that? Mandatory re-education is the only hope we have. That's the only hope we have. We can't agree on what color the sky is. How is that possible? How is it possible that people are walking around right now and they don't know what color the sky is? There are people right now walking around who don't know who the president is. There are people walking around right now that think that there is a giant epidemic of children getting chopped up in hospitals, but it's not circumcision, it's gay people. What do you do with that? There's a whole group of the population that believes that kids are being indoctrinated into thinking that black people are superior to white people and that all white people are evil. What do you do when that happens? How? Other than mandatory re-education, and I don't even know how that would happen. I wouldn't trust the current government to do that. I don't know who I would trust, and that's another part of the problem. But all I know is what the fuck do we do when there is a 20 to 30% of the population that just, they don't know what color the sky is, to put it in the most simplistic terms. These motherfuckers out there thinking that we breathe in carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen. That's how lost they are. Now you might think 20 to 30% of the population, that's 1 in 5, motherfucker. 1 in 5. When you're waiting in line at the grocery store and there's 5 motherfuckers in line, chances are one of them believes that critical race theory is teaching kids to chop up their whatever. What do? How do you move on from that? Oh. So anyway, there's that.